Hi friends, hope you're not going too crazy being sheltered in place with the whole family. One of the things that I work with in my practice is the DISC method of behavioral analysis, and I know that the being sheltered in place with the family and those that know how to push our buttons the best sometimes can be difficult. So what I want to do is do just a brief teaching today, talking about the different personality styles at just kind of the 10,000 foot level, but help you better understand those that you're hanging out with for the next couple of days or weeks, and hopefully we can put away any serious issues and help you guys just understand each other a little bit better, and make this a little bit more bearable from a personality standpoint. So let's kick this off. I like to say that self-awareness and emotional intelligence are the cornerstone of every relationship that you'll ever have, both personally and professionally. And that until we know ourselves, we can't really grow ourselves, and we can't be the best person that the people in our lives, personally or professionally, need us to be until we really have a great understanding of who we are. So the kind of the way this breaks out is, there's the differences in the questions that I ask people when we're starting to do the analysis or some of the presentations I do. Starts off with, are you more outgoing or more reserved? And then are you more task-oriented or more relational? So the first personality style that we have is that outgoing and task-oriented style. We call those the Ds, or the drivers, or the dominants. They fortunately make up about 3% of the population. They're the ones that are the doers, the drivers. They're the ones that get out there and make things happen. They don't necessarily know how to get it done, but they're the ones that have the vision and kind of get things started. So that's the strength of that personality style. But when we get sheltered in place and we spend too much time, or we spend a lot of time together, sometimes that personality style can come off as being, a little, impatient or argumentative. So part of what I want to help you guys do today is just understand that with these different styles, one's not good or bad or better or worse or right or wrong. They're just different. And so until we understand one another, we're probably likely going to misunderstand one another. One of the things under pressure, the D style, they may seem like they're resistant or rebellious or demanding or controlling. But just kind of understand that, like I said, we're all wired differently, and we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. I'm going to speak to each one of those as we go through this. A great way, and some of this part I'm going to take from the curriculum that I teach for younger kids on how to understand their personality style. Sweet spot statements for people that are wired this way. When you're the person that's communicating with them, I like the way that you're confident about yourself. I like the way that you set your mind to things and get things done. That you're committed and decisive. So that's the basic. That's the D style. The second personality style is as you listen to me describe this, you'll realize this is my style. That's outgoing and relational. We're the ones that are, we want to get the job done, but man, we sure want to have fun doing it. And it's really all about making sure that that everybody's on board. We're enjoying ourselves with what we're doing. Our strengths: we're friendly, we're talkative, we're highly inclusive. Sometimes we can tend to be, some people may look at us sometimes as we're flaky because we will go with the flow, and we're easy to please. We want to make sure that everybody else is having a good time. Kind of one of the things that we would manifest ourselves is when we're sheltered in place is, very maybe almost hyperactive or impatient, maybe a little bit louder. One of the fears of this personality style is not being paid attention to and not feeling like we're accepted. So if you're a personality style that you want to be a little bit more reserved, and you want to kind of hold up and think about things before you process, then understand that we're kind of the opposite of that, and just to be sensitive to that we're the ones that want to kind of talk things out. We'll speak to process as opposed to process first and then speak. So that's what we call the I style, or what I like to call the inspiring style. Those first two, they're our outgoing styles. The more reserved styles that we have are what we call the S's and the C's. That S personality style, that's what we call the steadies, or they're the folks that, and they make up the vast majority of the population. About 70% of the general population is going to be wired as what we call the S style. They're the ones that we kind of need to make sure we're taking care of and paying attention to right now, because their biggest fear is a change of circumstances and things that are different. So just understand that with this whole shelter in place and what's going on in the world right now, they may be having some issues with trying to express themselves, and they're doing everything for everybody else, but they tend to keep things into themselves. So if you've got somebody in the household that's like that, just kind of be understanding. Now the D's and the S's are across the spectrum from one another, and those two styles really depend on one another, especially in times like this. The D's need more S's in their life because they'll bring friends to the equation, and then the S's need the D's in their life because they'll help get things done. But again, understand that if you've got people in the household that are wired this way, you just want to be a little bit more sensitive to what their needs are, and be. You may not be able to understand what they're going through, but if you can be more understanding, that's a great way to look at it. Some sweet spot statements for somebody in this particular category. You appreciate that person is caring, and how much they strive to get along with other people's, and their compassion. These are the nicest people in the room, and like I said, they're 70% of the overall population. They're what we call the reserved but relationally oriented people. Now the last personality style is what we call the C's, or the compliance. This one was my dad. He was an engineer. Flew for the Navy, 30 years with IBM. Inside the 9 dots, inside his box, he was great. But to get him outside of that was difficult. Now some of the personality traits of this style is their strength in analytics. This personality style is directly opposite from my style, and like I said, we depend on one another, because my personality style, I'm great at getting things started, but I know that I need people in my life that will help me finish things, and this C personality style is really good at that. They're analytical, they're organized, they're very creative. But when they get under pressure, one of the things that their biggest fear is being criticized or criticism. So you'll recognize people that have that tendency or the need to have everything in its place and a place for everything, and won't or will hesitate to make a decision until they've gotten all the facts and information. I always kind of tell a story about my dad, that was the way he was. My mom was an S wired, and basically if I wanted to do something, I asked Mom. If I wasn't bleeding and I got home in time for dinner, it was cool. But with my dad, he wanted to know what it was going to cost, all the facts and figures, and he would continue to ask questions until I had satisfied his need for information. So as you recognize this personality style within your friends and family that you're sheltered in place with, kind of understand that they're grasping for information. They may be the news junkies and spend a lot of time on the web or on TV trying to process and get more information so that they can understand, so that they can make better decisions for their family. So if you've got a parental, one of the parents in the family that's wired this way, kids, try to be a little more understanding, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure they make the best decisions as they lead their family. Under pressure, they can become uptight or critical. They can overly cautious would be a way to describe this. If you've got somebody in your home that's wired like this, that you recognize this tendency, just help them understand that you appreciate how much they value excellence and making sure that they want to take care of the family unit. And that they always want to listen to try to understand, what the situation is. Now, on the right hand side, we have the relational style people, the I's and the S's, my style and the S style, and we're very sensitive to wanting to have consensus and everybody kind of understand. The D's and the C's, they're more interested in information. Now, if you're wired as a D and C and you recognize that you've got family members in the household that are more relational, I tell people, until you understand how people are wired, live life from right to left. So start off with being more relational. If you find out you're working with somebody that's more task oriented, they'll deal with having a little bit of time to get to know each other on the front end. You may get the come on, let's move this along type of communication from them, but understand that they'll deal with a little bit of the buttering up on the front end. Now the issue is, and the reason I make a point of this is, if you start right in on a task with somebody like myself that's relational, that'll make us sometimes shut down and make it more difficult to get us to come back to center to start the conversation and work on what we need to do. So there's a couple of things. I hope this was helpful. And if you'd like to do a deeper dive, this is what I do as a profession. We can have deeper conversations, actually do an assessment, web-based assessment for you and your family members. While we're doing this, while we're sheltered in place, I can do consulting for families, and I'm going to make the offer that I will financially make this. Put this out at the same price that I do for corporate clients when we're doing large numbers, just because I really think that this is extremely valuable. So who can utilize this information? You can. Like I said in the beginning of this, personal awareness and self-awareness and emotional intelligence are the cornerstone of every relationship you'll ever have. So hopefully this will help you with some issues, things that you may encounter while you're sheltered in place with your family. But also think about this as we start to go back to work. How could this impact your team? Because one of the things that we know is the world's going to be different when we go back to work, whenever that is. And everybody's going to come to it with their paradigm in a position of, in some cases, fear. So understanding can help rid us of fear, but understanding can also bring us together, not only just as a nation, but as individual teams. And that's what my passion is to help people with building their teams and organizations. What I like to say is building better humans, or developing and building high performance teams that are not dependent upon a leader, that understand one another well enough where they're equipped and empowered to go out and do what they need to do. So again, I hope this has been helpful. If I can help you, PM me, send me a private message. Those of you that have my cell phone, feel free to call me. My email address is william@wkspeaker.com. That's william@wkspeaker.com. Love you guys, and hope this has been helpful to you and the folks that you're hanging out with for the next couple of days.